The New York Jets had momentum on their side entering Sunday's matchup against the Miami Dolphins, but it all came to a halt. They get punched in the mouth by a division rival, 34-10 the score. An embarrassing performance at home, and it's obvious some changes need to be made this offseason. The Jets have a ton of cap space. The Jets have a ton of premium draft assets. How should they allocate those, and what changes need to be made for this team to find any sort of sustained success? We'll talk about that and much more, all coming up here on a Monday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
This is NY Flight Jets Talk with Connor Long. NY Flight Jets Talk. We're talking Jets. NY Flight Jets Talk with special guests. NY Flight Jets Talk. Here's your host, Connor Long. Jets.
What is going on, New York Jet fans? Hello, everyone. Welcome back here into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk as we come to you guys live right here on this Monday evening, December 8th, 2025. Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to drop down below, smash that like button, hit subscribe. That is the free way to support us and what we are doing right here on this channel, bringing you guys almost daily Jets content as the season continues to progress. And look, of course, the Jets get off to the embarrassing 0-7 start that they do, and then they start to string together some momentum. A nice win before the bye week, 39-38 in Cincinnati, a win over Cleveland, building somewhat of a win streak, lose to the Patriots on Thursday Night Football, lose to the Baltimore Ravens, and then they beat Atlanta last week. The Jets had won 3 out of their last 5, obviously entering Sunday's contest, and there was a reason for hope. Some Jet fans had hope. Some people thought that this team could be turning a corner, that this team was making improvements all around the depth chart, all for them to lose 34-10 at home yesterday to the Miami Dolphins. We're also a red-hot team, and joining me right now to break down yesterday's pitiful loss and to answer chats from everyone who's watching us live. The 104 you guys in the building already. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, throw your questions, your comments, your thoughts in the chat for us to get to. It's Frankie Vittorini, UStadium, Gangs All Here podcast. Frankie, it is great to be back with you, my friend. Last time we spoke, it was just after cutdown day. The season hadn't started. We each had some optimism for this team. We were thinking in that 7-8 win range, which is, by the way, the fact we have to call that optimistic being Jet fans is ridiculous. But we certainly didn't expect it to be 0-7 to start the season bad. And then now, 3-10 bad, and still slated to pick number 7 overall in the draft order. I know you've been locked into that. So, Frankie, it could certainly be better.
Yeah, Connor, man, I appreciate you having me on, brother. Yeah, man, it's been a rough season. It's been a forgetful season. There are a few things you can look at, you could point to that if things went a little differently, maybe you have a win here, a win there. But at the end of the day, this wasn't a really good football team. That's just what it was. They weren't a good football team. So what did you expect at the end of the day? We said what? We were talking 7 wins, 8 wins. Maybe, the most optimistic fans had 9 wins. The crazy ones had more than that. But all this team can do right now is get those 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. Right now, I'm not saying that means they're gonna have 5 first-rounders. They're gonna probably use a pick or 2 of those in draft capital to move up or move down. Move up. They would use those. That's where this team has to go. That's what will make this team, a playoff worthy team. Hopefully in the next couple of years is those 5 first rounders. What do you kind of do with those?
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a really interesting conversation, right? I think when you look at the trade deadline, this gave the Jets so much more flexibility over the next couple off seasons, coupled with the fact that the Jets are going to have over $90 million in cap space this offseason. This is going to be a huge offseason for the Jets. This is the true, I think, first off season for Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. Obviously, they were hired this past off season. Now they have a year under their belt. They know the revisions that they need to make to this roster, potentially this coaching staff as well. And they have all the ammo in the world to do what they want, of course, after the trade deadline, shipping away Sauce Gardner, trading away Quinnen Williams. So what the Jets do with these picks remains an unknown. And I want to take a little, peek at the draft order, Frankie. I mentioned it earlier. Jets, despite the blowout loss yesterday, stay pat, number 7 overall in the draft order. I believe it is, of course, courtesy of Tankathon, which is always rough, right, Frankie? Because you get a loss, at least maybe you slide up a few spots in the draft order. I'm far from a tank person, contrary to your belief, but that's at least the hope. Maybe you move up a few spots after a game like yesterday, but no, a win by a blowout loss, for Washington. They add another L to their record. They have the strength of schedule tiebreaker over the Jets, so nothing to be happy about. We'll get into the game, but still picking number 7 overall in the draft order, Frank.
Yeah, man. Listen, we have to understand something. When we speak about tanking, right? I obviously am not somebody that roots for their favorite team to lose. That's not the kind of person I am. But when you're thinking about what this team needs, and what this team needs is a quarterback, and the best way to position your roster is not only being able to get a quarterback, but not trading draft picks to get that quarterback, you're in a better spot. Now, when you want to talk about culture wins, did the Falcons game have any carryover effect to how they showed up yesterday? So, people that we won 3 of 5, things are turning. Glenn looks like he's becoming this, the coach that he was that we were hoping for. You came out yesterday and you looked like you got your doors blown off, and the game was over after 5 minutes. Literally, there was 7 minutes left in the first, and the Dolphins had a 91% chance to win the game based on ESPN's GameCast. 5 minutes, 5. So
it's not bad.
Yeah. So listen, I'm not going to sit here and crap on the team, but this season's over. There's nothing. Now I'll be a good tanker. I won't shit on Aaron Glenn. Sorry to curse, but I won't crap. I won't crap on Glenn. I'll let Glenn kind of do his thing. And I won't kill him for losses or be so negative about them. But man, you better get up there, because I want Fernando Mendoza, and I'd rather not give up a first rounder or 2 to make it happen. Why? What's better, having an extra 2 first rounders or not? This season's a wash. We're not making the playoffs. We're officially eliminated. We were eliminated when we were 0-7. The season was lost. Move on. Go to a better day. The ultimate goal. What's the ultimate goal, Connor? I always tell people the ultimate goal is winning a Super Bowl.
Yep.
For us, the ultimate goal, it seems like, is 9 wins.
Yeah.
That's a low bar. It should be winning a Super Bowl. I know that sounds crazy to people.
Yes.
I know you need to make the playoffs first, then you can worry about a Super Bowl, but you got to go for the prize. You start a business, you want to sell, you want to go public, you go to school, you want to get A's. The goal in football is to win a championship. The goal in sports is to win the title. The best way for the Jets to win a title is to have a quarterback. Now, I agree that there's some stuff with winning that does build culture, but the Falcons win. Without a muffed punt, we're not winning that game. Without drops, we're not winning that game. The Bengals game was a miracle. The Browns game, we won. So it's whatever. This is a 3-win team, 2-win team, and I'm not gonna I'm serious. I'm not gonna be, oh, look, the culture win. How was the culture win yesterday? Where was all of that good juju? I like Joe Beningo. I know he goes on Jake's show. I was on his show earlier. Beningo all week was like, oh, I've never felt better about this team. Look, this team is haven't felt this good about this team in a while. How do you feel today? Today, 24 hours later, the rhetoric changes. So, like, who's really got the right perspective here? But I'll slow down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you talk about the
Connor,
game,
I think
Aaron
you
Glenn
froze, or
said
maybe
it.
I froze.
You there, Frankie? I hear you. Your frame is frozen, but I
I
still
don't
hear
know.
you. All right, we hear you.
Connor,
Um,
Connor, you there?
yeah, you got me?
Yeah, you froze. You just like
All right, perfect. Yeah, you were frozen on my end as well.
Oh, okay.
As it pertains to the game yesterday, I think Aaron Glenn said it best in the post-game presser. He just simply didn't have his guys ready to play. That's the only way to put it. He did not have his guys ready to play. Off the opening kickoff, the Jets were outmatched. The Dolphins were marching down the field at will. The Dolphins were getting points with ease. I mean, a 21-point first quarter, Frankie. A 21-point first quarter. Talk about special teams coming up clutch. Isaiah Williams doesn't return that punt return. You're looking at a 35-3, potentially 43 type game. That's the game that it was yesterday. And sure, you could say thanks, of course, to the Isaiah Williams punt return touchdown. The Jets were in it a little down the stretch, somewhat. They had an opportunity to cut the lead within 2 scores. 12 minutes to play before John Mechie had that, of course, brutal drop within Miami's 15-yard line. So overall, at the end of the day, it was an awful game for the Jets from start to finish, offensively, defensively, special
Yeah.
teams, of course, remaining the only bright spot. There's nothing to take away. Brady Cook, we saw go into action for the first time this year. And look, I was a Brady Cook fan. I was someone who liked Brady Cook and the potential upside that he offered coming in as an undrafted free agent, but no one expected him to see game action this year. And this was kind of the warning that I sent to fans who were calling for Brady Cook to see the field this early on in the year. I mean, they were calling for it a few weeks ago. That's what I'm saying, this early on. We saw what he is. He's an undrafted. He went undrafted for a reason. That's who he is. He's an undrafted free agent caliber quarterback. It was his first time, his NFL debut, trying to run the offense in a regular season game, and we saw what it resulted in. And to be fair, again, Cook was not perfect, but his pass catchers gave him absolutely no help. 6 total drops is what the number came out to yesterday's game. Multiple from Adonai Mitchell. That terrible Mason Taylor drop while Tyrod was still quarterbacking that ultimately led to the interception and gave Miami a short field. And then also, of course, the brutal Mechie drop, which I spoke about earlier. So all 2 of the 3 phases were an abject disaster. It's happened way, way, way too many times this year. And look, Frankie, these pass catchers have to catch the ball. But the question now becomes, Justin Fields, of course, was ruled out earlier on in the week due to knee soreness for Sunday's game. Tyrod Taylor did not return after suffering a groin injury. What do the Jets do against a very, very good Jacksonville Jaguars team? Maybe if Justin Fields isn't ready to go, if Tyrod Taylor isn't ready to go, I really think you have no option except trotting Brady Cook out of the field. There are no other options out there for this team, Frankie.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, well said, Connor. Yeah, it's gonna likely be Brady Cook. I think what they're gonna have to figure out is how they're gonna get Breece Hall going in this game. And they need to get Breece going because he hasn't really gotten much on he hasn't gotten much going on the ground since Tyrod took over at the helm. It seems like without Justin Fields there, with that threat of that read option where the quarterback can pull it, you have really a more traditional style in the running game, and you see Breece struggling about the last month or so. 3.1 yards a carry last game, 3.6, 2.8 the week before. And even the week before, 4.1, 4.0. He had the big game against Cincy, and then 3.5, 2.7. Actually, on the year, he has another game with 2.3, 2.9. It's not good enough. I want to see if the Jets want to pay Breece Hall, and he should get paid right now. But if you want to make him the RB1 and not have to worry about the other RB2 on the roster, if you don't want an RB1B, let's see what you can do on the ground. You got the rookie undrafted free agent coming in. You have a
Mhm.
Jacksonville front they're not world beaters at stopping the run.
Yep.
Let's see what you can do. Now, the Jets' offensive line, I will say, hasn't done him any favors there. They're not moving people as much as they're not as good, excuse me, at run block and they're not movers as good as they are, I would say, like finesse offensive linemen or pass blockers. But I want to see Brees get going a little bit more, man. Let's see you have a big game. I mean, it seems like he really hasn't gotten much going for a little bit. Last time he had 100 yards rushing was a
Yep.
Cincinnati game. So, you're talking about over a month ago. So, it's time for Brees
Yeah.
to get him moving a little bit. So Brees Hall's going to have to help out Brady Cook. And listen, I love me some Tanner Engstrand. It's inexcusable that yesterday Brees
Mhm.
Hall didn't catch a ball. So
Yeah.
Tanner's got to put Brees in a position not only to get it going on the ground, you got to get this guy going through the air. And that could literally just be a few screen passes, a dump off here and there. Like, Brees is your best friend out there. I don't know
Yes.
what Garrett's situation is going to be. We'll know more in the next couple of days. We'll probably know by Wednesday whether he's going to play or not. The way he responded, it looks like he may not play. I was saying yesterday in the post game with Ryan
Yeah.
that I think he will play, but he may miss another week. So if he's out, they got to use Brees as much as they can.
He should not play another game this season. Garrett Wilson. That
Yeah, I
is.
don't think he should. Maybe he suits up for a game later on in the year
Yeah.
if he wants to just get
Mhm.
out there with his guys and just play. I wouldn't mind that. I know it makes no
Yeah.
sense really. Like, what's the point of playing one game? But these guys are competitors. Maybe he wants to go out there for a
Yeah.
game. But yeah, I wouldn't rush him this week for sure. No, there's no reason
Yeah.
to.
I'd only put him out there for a game if Tyrod Taylor is quarterbacking. That's the only situation where I put him out there. Because then you can make the case, okay, John Mechie, A.D. Mitchell, these guys have showed promise over the past few weeks where Garrett Wilson hasn't been playing. Let's see them all together. And I'm sure as hell not putting Garrett Wilson back out on the field with Justin Fields, who has had a full inability to throw the football this year and single-handedly got Garrett Wilson hurt in the Broncos game in London, and I'm definitely not putting him out there with Brady Cook. No explanation needed for that. When you talk about Tanner Engstrand, his inability to integrate Brees Hall as a pass catcher, agree with you 1,000%. That's been my only gripe with him. Tanner Engstrand, I think, has shown signs of being an innovative play caller. He's shown progress each and every single week. And at the end of the day, it's hard to come to a kind of a full assessment on him given who he's been dealing with at the quarterback position. He has been handcuffed there. He's been dealing with one of Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, or Brady Cook. It is hard to evaluate an offensive coordinator and their capabilities when that is his quarterback room. So that's where kind of the gray area is with Engstrand, and that's where we're going to get a full look at him next year, whether they draft a quarterback in April or they ultimately bypass it until 2027. Now, the other coordinator on the other side of the ball, Frankie, Steve Wilks. He has been a talking point for Jets fans dating all the way back since
Stevie
week
Dubs.
3, week 4. See, okay, that's a really interesting comment. I think Wilks hasn't done a good job. Let's start there. There is no way of sugarcoating that. He has not done a good job. The schematic stubbornness, I think, his inability to revert to zone and stay in man on third down in particular, where the Jets have been far more effective in zone on third down plays. I think he's killed them there, and his schematic stubbornness overall, like I mentioned. However, I see people going out there and lambasting Steve Wilks for yesterday's performance. Sure, could he have had more of a concrete plan to stop Tua Tagovailoa and Devon A-Chain? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, let's not forget, this Miami Dolphins offense is high-powered, high-octane, whatever you want to call it. They could beat you underneath. They could beat you on the ground. This is a very, very, very good offense. Might I add that Steve Wilks has no personnel on defense. He is dealing with Isaiah Oliver as his starting slot cornerback, Jasir Taylor the week before. In Atlanta, the defensive line needs improvements. The linebackers have been terrible. Jamie and Sherwood in particular, Frankie. It's like after he got paid, he just took his foot off the gas fully. He has been terrible this season for the Jets. He's dealing with no one on defense. That's the end of the day. So, look, I think he needs to show more adaptability if he wants to be brought back next season, of course, the final few weeks of the year. But also, let's not act like he's dealing with all pro after all pro as it pertains to the personnel that he's calling plays for.
Yeah, you made some solid points there, man. I'll say this too. I'll say a few things. Listen, when you have 0 interceptions and the second lowest team, and there's 3 of them, have 5, that's an issue though with the DC too. I get what you're saying with the personnel, and you are correct. The personnel is not very good. They can probably fill 8 of those spots next year if they really wanted to on defense,
Yeah.
hypothetically. So I'm with you there, but let's not kid ourselves when it comes to the X's and O's side. You have 0 picks, you have 2 total takeaways, one of which was a muffed punt on special teams. So your defense has literally had 1 takeaway. The team leading the NFL in takeaways, that's the Chicago Bears. They have 27. So the team that has the most is the Bears, 27, who no one thought with Ben Johnson coming into the year that defense would have been their strength, and it arguably is for them, with Dennis Allen there, who they just hired. Steve Wilkes hasn't done a very good job with X's and O's. They're not masking anything. They're not being too creative. They're stuck in man at certain times. And any sort of misdirection, they're on cloud 8, I call it, because they don't know where the hell they're going. They're floating around everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'll also say this: these guys don't know this defense. So listen, you could say what you want about Jamie Sherwood. I agree that he hasn't progressed like we thought. But I'll give you some numbers about Sherwood that I think we're being a little bit unfair with Jamie. I was gonna have a little video on this, but I'll kind of wait to do something. But listen, Jamie Sherwood does not get this defense. He's a smaller build linebacker to begin with. He's not playing with CJ Mosley. Yep. He's not really understanding what's going on. But if you look at the numbers, and I'm not a numbers person with linebackers per se, but he's projected to have more tackles than he did last year. His run grade has improved from 77.1 to 82.8. He has 8 PBUs. He had 2 last year. He has 12 pressures he's forced this year. He had 9 last year. So I'm just saying, he's been awful in coverage. So that's exactly one of the worst linebackers in coverage. But he hasn't been as bad as I think we need to sound the alarm. So I think it was an overpay, absolutely. But let's not blame Jamie Sherwood for why this defense isn't where it's at. There's a lot of positions that need to get better. If you team up, I think Quincy and Jamie together are not a good mix. They need to find another Will, or they need to put him at the Will and get a Mike linebacker in there, someone that'll be more stout and call out the defenses, and then he could be the sidekick, the Will to someone's Mike. You could probably move him around a little bit more, but he's smaller. But the edges on this defense, if we want to get into them, I mean, they're not getting better. They're not progressing either. It seems like really nobody is, right? Will McDonald's off the stat sheet yesterday, doesn't register a stat. Jalen Wright's running through one of his own tackles. Jermaine Johnson had a tackle. These guys, Will McDonald has had a sack since his 4-sack game.
Yeah.
Jermaine Johnson has 3 sacks on the season. I mean, that's not good enough, man. Look at the best defense in football to kind of compare. Let's say the Houston Texans. Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson are both top 10 in the league in sacks. You got to get sacks in this league playing edge. And if you're not getting sacks, you got to stop the run. And they're not doing either. And that's an issue.
Well said.
Yeah,
for sure. And I want to piggyback off something you said a little earlier on with Steve Wilkes, and you kind of, putting some blame on him for the Jets' inability to create some interception opportunities. The Jets had 2 opportunities for an interception yesterday. One that I thought was a very good play designed by Wilkes, sending Malachi Moore. He retreated right onto the play there and just dropped the ball right in his arms, just dropped it. And same goes for Michael Walker at the Jets'
oh man, that was
3-yard
right
line.
Man.
That would have been a pick 6. And
I think I could have picked that off, definitely.
And you could potentially even parlay the Brandon Stevens play on that swing pass from Tua. That could have been a scoop and score as well. So there are so many plays that we could point to. Realistically, frankly, the Jets could have had 3 turnovers yesterday. 3 turnovers, 2 of which they could have gone for touchdowns. Ugh, it's so frustrating every single week. But the unit that hasn't frustrated us all season long is special teams. There's history unfolding in front of our eyes, Frankie. I wrote about this earlier today. So The Jets currently hold a special teams DVOA of 12.4%. Since DVOA began tracking in 1978, the Jets are on pace now with that metric to become the greatest special teams unit in NFL history. And they're supposed to surpass the 2002 New Orleans Saints, who currently have the record at 11.8%. And it's so unfortunate because nobody's been able to step up around them. There is greatness unfolding in real time, Frankie, and the Jets aren't taking advantage of it.
Yeah, man, it stinks, right? Because you better hope. I mean, I know the running joke in Jetland is watch us have the 27th ranked special teams next year is like the running joke. But no, I think I think this special teams has some longevity to it in terms of their success. I think not just because of Isaiah Williams, we have KK, you have Nick Falk, I think will be back another season. The kicker the punter will be back. So I listen, Chris Banjo, he has those guys locked in. I mean, they're treating every play on special teams like it's their last. Everyone's running as hard as they can. Every last guy on there is blocking. They're priding themselves on being a great special teams. And you can see it. And other special teams units fear them. I mean, when they come in, they're worried about this Jet special teams unit. Those are like two separate games in and of itself. There's three going on. You have your offense versus their defense, your defense versus their offense, and your special teams versus theirs. And we've won that battle basically, I'd say like 12 out of 13 weeks here outside of the Xavier Gibson fumble earlier in the season. I feel like then maybe Isaiah Williams had a few muffs one game, but we even had a good special teams, some plays outside of that. They've been phenomenal, man. They've helped us win a few games. We've won a few games because then we've at least won one game because of the special teams. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this is a unit that has been prepared every single week. And when the other units have needed help, whenever the Jets have needed a clutch play, the special teams unit has been there. So I think there's a world, Frankie, maybe not this offseason, but next, if they continue to play at this pace, where Chris Banjo can get a head coach interview.
That'd be interesting, right? Yeah. You're right. No, I was saying this earlier and someone said I was crazy. No, but I agree with you, Connor. I do. Yeah, when you have a special teams group like that, I mean, John Harbaugh was a special teams coach, wasn't he? I mean, like it's
Belichick before he became a DC and then ultimately became a head coach.
Yeah. This is it's an opportunity for Chris Banjo. I think, if he wants to get into coaching another side of the football, I don't know where his skill set is outside of special teams necessarily.
Yeah, he played little safety.
It was saying maybe
it's like calling Justin Hardy a cornerback. Like that's what it is with
Chris but we'll see, man. This is it's nice to see a young guy too, build a unit like he has. This is this is just what it takes to become a great football coach, and you're kind of seeing his journey. And hope he sticks around here as a special teams coach, and I hope he sticks around here as a coach in general. Maybe they move him somewhere else, but I mean that special teams unit it's elite. It really is.
Okay, yeah, I mean absolutely, I agree with you there. Look, when you talk about the future of this Jets team, Frankie, how they're going to handle this offseason, and a lot of it is going to be predicated on the draft, right? 5 first-round picks over the next 2 seasons, 2 this year, their own, and of course the Indianapolis pick that is just snowballing week by week. And now, with the injury to Daniel Jones, you're looking at a pick that could potentially be in the top 15. This could be a really, really, really valuable asset for the Jets. And look, you see they worked out Phillip Rivers earlier today.
Yeah, that was fun. I like that.
That's an OG. Funny one. That's a funny one. Absolutely. So the Jets could really have 2 top 15 draft picks come April. I know everyone wants in on the quarterback conversation. We want to engage with you guys in the segment throughout the show. So continue to throw your questions, your comments, your thoughts in the chat. We will get to those. Frankie, you all in on Mendoza? Fernando Mendoza, Indiana, of course, secures the Big Ten championship, the biggest win of his career over Ohio State. Are you really all in on Fernando Mendoza?
I am, but to the extent that we don't have to trade any of those
Mm-hmm.
2027 first round picks.
Mm.
I'd be willing to part with the extra with the Colts pick you were just talking about in 26. So I'd give that pick up and maybe a future 2 or even a couple 2s if you want, and a third. I mean, like I'm down to give up some picks
Yeah.
because you're gonna have to. But I'm just stopping at 1 first rounder, of which it's 2026. I'm not touching those 27 because, again, you don't know what that draft looks like. It looks like it's going to be really good. I want to take another bite at the quarterback apple if you have to. That's how desperate this team and we are as fans, media, whatever, like for a quarterback. Like we need
Yeah.
to get one, and you got to pick them to find them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
trade if you have to. And yeah, I like Mendoza. Out of all these kids, I think he's got the highest floor by far. The
Mm-hmm.
ceiling is where the conversation really it gets interesting with Mendoza. His coach, Kurt Signetti, has brought up that we haven't unlocked a lot of what he can do. If you guys saw him in practice, you'd be stunned because they don't make him throw all that much. He really plays like he's a glorified game manager in a lot of ways, but he's got those game manager intangibles and or intangibles needed to become a glorified game manager to a very good quarterback. He does a lot of the right things and makes the right decisions. And he's got the confidence that he makes it happen. He looks like a leader out there. I know he's a little bit weird. And someone's like, oh, Howard, I was talking with, because I was on Jake's show earlier, and Will Powell was bringing up like something, how would that go over in an NFL locker room? I'm like, listen, corny sells, like no one.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, totally. Good one. Yeah. Corny, weird sells. No one hates on corny or weird, really, in an NFL locker room. Like, got a bunch of guys in there. Like, they might rip on you, make fun of you, but like, they're not going to not like you. So, he doesn't have like an arrogance complex to him where like guys aren't going to like him or he's not going to get along. Like they'll crack on him and it'll be fun. I'm sure. So, I'm not worried about him. I actually think it could work. I actually think it will work to his advantage. Honestly, I do. I really think that's a positive for him going into an NFL locker room, and it's been a positive for him at Indiana. He spoke about it after the win. He goes, "We're a bunch of misfits, and that's what we pride ourselves on. We're all different and weird, but that's what brings us together." So I don't know. I think he gets what teamwork is, and I think he gets what it means to be a leader, and he's adaptable. And he makes all the big plays. I mean, some of his throws, man, late, those back shoulder throws on in the red zone. He's just clutch. He's got a little bit of, he's got a little bit of Kirk Cousins, a little bit of Jared Goff, a little bit of Tom Brady. I hate using that. I hate saying that name, comparing anyone to him, but he's like a mix, a little bit of all those guys. And I don't know what his ceiling is though yet, and that's why I'm not giving up more than that 26 first. If you have to give up one of the 27 first, give it up. But I would rather not. But yeah, I like him the best.
It's certainly an interesting conversation, right? I would not give up a first or second round pick to trade up for Fernando Mendoza. Nothing against him, the player. He was my number 2 QB in summer scouting, trailing only Lenora Sellers. Well, how the tables have turned now as we're reaching the college football playoff.
So I guess he's your number 1 quarterback then, assuming Sellers goes back.
Well, no, my board has changed a lot since summer scouting. Dante Moore would be my number 1 quarterback.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm more of a Dante Moore guy. No pun intended there. With Mendoza, look, I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a franchise-altering great one, and I don't think anyone is in this year's draft class.
Fair.
I really don't think so. And the whole idea that, especially after watching the Big Ten Championship, Fernando Mendoza, give up the house, bring him here. He is going to flip a switch and change everything overnight. Whoa. Have you watched the defense this entire season? Have you looked at the supporting cast with the exception of Garrett Wilson? The Jets need another wide receiver. You can make a case that the Jets need 2 new linebackers. They need at least 2 new edge rushers to be added. They need to use every single one of these draft picks. They can't be giving them away to bring in a quarterback who, let's be real, sure has potential, but I don't think is a surefire answer. No one is in the draft and is going to come in and flip a switch and again change everything in this organization overnight. A plan that I like is, maybe you roll out and go Carnell Tate with whatever pick you have. That's a player I think
Like
is
Carnell
really, really
Tate.
nice. And someone I think you pair with Garrett Wilson, you will automatically have a top receiver duo in the NFL. I just think that's how good of a receiver that he is. And then, maybe you take Jaden Mayava at a USC with your, one of your 2 second-round picks that you have this year. So I think they need to take a quarterback this year in the first round. I don't think it's a must do move. It's a move that they 1000% need to make. That's my perspective overall on this quarterback position. Let's see what everyone has to say in the chat. DTN says Jets need to look into finding a defensive coordinator in addition to a quarterbacks coach. In my first mock off season for Jets X Factor, Frankie, those are the 2 changes I had the Jets making. I had them firing Steve Wilkes, bringing in Jim Leonard, firing Charles London, the quarterbacks coach, and bringing in David Blau. So those are the 2 positions, coaching positions, that are the most obvious as to where a change needs to be made.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. I think too, like they also have to look at some defensive coaches.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, for example, I don't
Yeah.
know this, but like Aaron Curry, he's coaching
Yeah.
the linebackers. He's a former player. Like maybe you got to get a new linebackers coach in there, or get a veteran voice in there somewhere, an advisor, somebody overlook what's going on. They got a lot of young defensive guys over there, some former players too, coaching up that defense. It's the defense is not working, where we give up the 3rd most rushing yards in the league at this point. Yep. And we have 0 interceptions. Like that's inexcusable 13 games into a season. It's not sustainable. It's, you could pick up anyone, really. You could have gotten any one off the scrap heap to be the DC, and they would have done at least as bad or as good of a job as this. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Look, I just think they need to make a change at defensive coordinator and at quarterbacks coach. It becomes, especially if they draft a quarterback, no matter what round it is, that becomes a really important job, Frankie. Like if you just look at a regular team, quarterbacks coach isn't that important, but for developing a young quarterback, it is. Having a voice in there who knows what he's talking about, who's helped develop QBs before, who has NFL experience. Not Charles London, who was a running back and made his name known as a running backs coach. That's not the right path for the Jets to take moving forward. And I don't think that's someone that you want, frankly, developing your young quarterback. So we're in agreement there. Absolutely. Brooklyn Boys, Josh, what's up, says, Mechie has been really good, but what the hell is with the red zone drops? He was going to be solid, ? Look, everyone was getting too high on John Mechie. He is what he is. He's a wide receiver 4, a wide receiver 5. He's not a 2. He's not a 3. He's sure as hell not a 1. He has to clean up the drops, though, if he wants to be on this roster. Next year's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. Jets could tender him if they want to. But, yeah, rough 2 weeks for John Mechie.
Yeah, and I hate bringing this up too, but listen, he was in Philadelphia. They just threw him in a deal. Like it was a throwaway. If they really valued him with that offense and how they planned Jalen Hurts, and before that he's with Houston and CJ Stroud and their old OC, he knew what the hell he was doing. Like, they're not just throwing this guy around and he's not getting looks. Like obviously he's a journeyman wide receiver. I agree with you though. He's a 4-5. He can play the 3 at times. The more interesting prospect is obviously AD Mitchell. Like where does he stand? And I think I like, with Garrett Wilson, AD Mitchell, if AD Mitchell can be that deep threat, instead of Carnell Tate, you may want to take a look at Mekhi Lemon. I wish he was a little bit bigger, but he does remind me a little bit of Puka Nacua, a little bit. If you have him across, like a Puka JSN kind of hybrid receiver, which is a dream, right? Those kind of guys right now are actually being utilized a lot better in the NFL than they used to be. Those deep threats and the way that these 2 deep safety looks are, it's kind of hard to get going down the field. You see some receivers that have traditionally lived in the deep game. Devonta Smith hasn't done much this year. DJ Moore really hasn't done much this year. Worthy hasn't really popped much this year. Keon Coleman wasn't able to do much this year. like you see some players that are deep threats that really like have disappeared, and now you're seeing guys like JSN just take the league over. Puka's been playing fantastic. Amon-Ra still, Amon-Ra. Like you got to get those underneath guys, man. And Garrett's kind of a hybrid. He is a little bit of an underneath guy, but he's also a deep threat guy.
Yes.
So it's kind of, I don't know if you want to pair, you don't have to pair him up with a deep threat necessarily or pair him up with an inside guy. But if AD Mitchell is your wide receiver too, or your second or third best receiver, and you want to pair him up with someone, Garrett's your default one, kind of an A and does A and does B and does C. So like there's no like complement to him. You might want to complement the receiver with AD. That's a Makai Lemon. That's a nightmare for a defense. Garrett, you don't know what's going to happen. AD is going to go down the field and stretch you down the field, and Makai's working across the middle like a maniac. That's a tough matchup, man. You got Tanner Engstrand calling those plays, and my boy Mendoza throwing it. Oh boy, you better watch out. Watch out. I'm just saying, that's when you start building something, but you're not going to get Makai Lemon if you're trading the 26, the extra pick. You have to trade a 27, and then that changes how 27 looks. So there's always an opportunity cost here, right? When you're moving around picks. But if we didn't beat Atlanta, Connor, we'd be drafting second overall right now. But you guys told me that we were culture building, so I'll take your word for it. I think you're going to be a lot smarter than I am. You already are. So yeah.
Thank you. Indy says Ty Simpson is garbage. He needs to stay in school. Look, Ty Simpson was terrible in the SEC championship against Georgia, and he had mediocre weeks all leading up to that. Look, at the end of the day, I like Ty Simpson because of the traits that he has. I think he's great at processing the field. I think he's someone who has the best pocket awareness among quarterbacks. I think you could say in this year's draft class, although I don't think he's coming out. He's in that Lenora Sellers boat, in my opinion, where I think he'll spend another year in school.
Listen, I think he's coming out. I think he's coming out because it is a weak quarterback class. And if he comes out and he's going to have now with the college football playoffs an opportunity to kind of redeem himself. Remember, we're prisoners of the moment. We all are, especially in today's world with social media. Forget it. I mean, you could change the narrative on something in 2 hours. So listen, he has a big playoff. He's definitely coming out. I'll tell you that right now. I think he's coming out. I'm not sure, but if he has a big playoff, he'll come out. Once you go through the process of the combine and pre-draft stuff, and interviews and people looking at your tape, and they only like the stuff that they like, and they'll want to, tell people in the lock, tell the scouts and whatnot that we're looking for this, and he's got that. And it's just, you're building a narrative for why you like the guy. Trust me, you're going to find a lot of stuff with Ty Simpson that you're going to like. And like Baker Mayfield, all of a sudden was the first overall pick, right? And then like, guys like Josh Allen propelled onto the scene. Like there's there's guys that just pop up during this combine and draft process. I think Ty Simpson coming from Alabama, especially with the prowess that they have in college football, it's Alabama. There might be a team that might have him as their quarterback too. And maybe they have Dante Moore as their 1 and Mendoza's their 3. It's going to change from now until combine day. Like it's gonna change. I'm telling you, it's if people have Mendoza, Moore, and Simpson's kind of like the consensus top 3. Like that could change. It could flip. It could change. It could be somebody else. Jaden Maivia might come up in there. I don't know, but it's he looks bad, but let's see what happens. He's my quarterback 3 right now. I have it chalk. I have it Mendoza, Moore, and him. But I want to do a little bit more, and I want to see a little bit more. We're going to get to see a lot more of all 3 of those guys in the next couple weeks.
We'll wrap with a fun hypothetical from Andy. Says, Connor, if we were to draft Tate, would Wilson be wide receiver 2 or 1B? I guess you could say 1B, right? Because Tate is more of that like traditional X outside guy. He's 6'3". He's going to win in jump ball situations for you. Like for me, the guys that I'm looking to pair with Garrett Wilson, Carnell Tate, of course, and then Denzel Boston is kind of like my little under the radar end of the first round.
Good.
type guy who I like. Again, bigger frame, a very smooth mover for his size. I like Boston. I like Tyson too. I just get a little weary of those injury issues that he's had over the past few years, and teams typically do monitor those, especially when you take a receiver very, very high in the order. And I think Tyson has the potential to be a top 10 pick. So going back to the question, if Carnell Tate were to get drafted by the Jets, he's more of that 1B.
Yeah, I would. I would just switch that question a little bit. I say, Connor, if we draft Tate, would Tate be wide receiver 2 or 1B? I think. Yeah. I think. I think Garrett Wilson's your 1A. Tate has a unique skill set. But Garrett's that guy here. But you know what? It doesn't even matter. We could. The question is, how would we use him? I looked a lot into Mekhi Lemon the other night. I haven't done so much on Tate. I love Mekhi Lemon. The problem is I don't like his size. Like JSN 6'1", Puka 6'1". He's 5'11". Makes a difference. It does. Those extra couple inches there. It's I wish if he was 6 foot, I wouldn't even care as much. But like 5'11" to 6'1". But we'll see what he measures in at. But they gotta figure out the Jets because Tanner likes to do the underneath stuff and those long crossing routes that they're gonna have to figure out those across the middle kind of players. Tate's not an across the middle kind of player. Tate's a down the field guy. Tate's a stop and go. Tate's a deep post corner. And I'm fine with it. I think Carnell Tate's awesome. Don't get me wrong. He's ranked higher on my board than Lemon is, but I do think for us, Lemon might fit a little better. And I don't think we're going to be have an opportunity to draft Tate. I think Tate, when it's all said and done, will be a top 5 pick. I think we're going to draft right outside there, like 6, maybe even 5. Tate's going to go 4 or something. Watch. I think we'll go a few picks before. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a good problem to have.
Frankie, thank you so much for joining us here on the show, everyone. Thank you guys for watching.
You're the GOAT.
Hit subscribe. You got any final thoughts, man, before we wrap things up? A fun time with you as always.
Final thoughts are, all right, these are my final thoughts. The Jets right now, okay, players have to prove to us, we have to be convinced that they are deserving of being on this roster next year, or they're deserving of extensions, or Will McDonald's deserving of a 5th-year option, or Breece Hall's deserving of, a 4-year, $48 million contract. We can't at this point. It's a rebuild. We're in a rebuild. We can't think like we've been thinking. Remember, Sauce is gone. Quinnen is gone. They're rebuilding the roster. It's a clean slate. You got to prove it. If Breece Hall, and I'm not saying this, I'm just saying this. Yeah, you get that? If Breece Hall cannot run, give him 20 carries. If he can't get 75 yards between the tackles, it might be the offensive line's issue too. But if he can't do that with this O-line, he doesn't fit here. Maybe he's not a big enough bruiser. Maybe he needs to go to a team that utilizes him in space better, that runs better screen packages. Like there's teams like that. We don't run a great screen package here.
Yep.
We don't. So maybe he's better off. Maybe you're better off not spending that money on him. Draft a running back, save the money, pay an edge in free agency like the Texans did with Danielle Hunter. I'm just saying there's different ways to slice this thing up.
Yep.
It's a rebuild. Don't fall in love with the players. Only player really that the only couple guys that are guaranteed here, it's Garrett Wilson, it's Olu, it's Membu, it's Tittman. Even though, listen, I was saying this about Joe. If the Jets if the Jets hypothetically go to the Giants, right?
Yep.
And say, hey, we want to do a trade with you. I was saying this on Jake's show earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If the Giants go, we need a guard. And the way that GMs think now is different. You saw the Bryce Young trade when they went from 9 to 1, that they threw DJ Moore in there. Now, they may want to say right now, the Giants, like, we need a guard. We want Joe Tittman. All right, here he is. We'll give you a first. We'll give you. I'm just saying. I'm saying this is the kind of flexibility that you have to be willing to have, you have to be willing to conform to as a fan to understand what it takes to build a team in the proper way. They got rid of, when they told us that Sauce and Quinnen were out of here, they effectively said, screw your favorite players, and this is going to look different. So with it looking different, don't fall in love. Oh, we got to sign Brees. We don't have to sign anybody. All right. We don't have, trust me, we don't have to sign Brees Hall. We don't. Would I like to? Yeah. But there's an opportunity cost. It's a salary cap league. That's all I'm going to say. Connor, salutes, my man.
Thank you.
You're I want to say, I can't even say you're an up and coming star anymore, bro. You're a star already, man. You
Thank you so much.
2 years, you did more than I did in 10. It's unbelievable. You're incredible, man.
Thank you so much, Frankie. I appreciate the
and do good in school. Get A's for your parents, okay? Don't spend too much time on this Jets nonsense. I'm kidding.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate the kind words as always, my man. Thank you, everyone.
Later, man.
For tuning in right here on the show. That'll do it for us. For Frankie via UStadium, I'm Connor Long, right here on NY Flight Jets Talk, saying have a great rest of your evening, everyone. And as always, JTS, baby. Jets, Jets, Jets. Peace out.